So thrilled that you are all here to listen to and participate and ask questions of our friend Vicki Parker. I met Vicki on a cruise years ago, several years ago. I can't even remember what year it was, but we just had the best time on that cruise, and here we are still in touch with each other. And Vicki is going to talk about the bank. Brandon, who was on a couple of weeks ago, did bring it up a little bit, talked about a little bit about the personalities, but Vicki's going to go into far more detail about it in her 20-minute presentation. And then she's also has a AI, I believe, that would work in your business. So
Line one went down again.
We're really excited to have you here, Vicki. So welcome, 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 and take it away.
Thank you. And may I share my screen?
Yes, please do.
Okay, so let me go here. And we'll go here. So welcome everybody and thank you. So for those of you who may be familiar with Bank is a communication tool and it is used in many different capacities. Originally, Bank was brought into the marketplace to identify why people buy and why they buy in. And I apologize if you can hear that phone. I am at my mother's home and I have no control over that, unfortunately. So who am I? My name is Vicki Parker, as Peggy mentioned, and I'm a certified and licensed bank professional, and I am a trainer as well as a coach in the bank methodology for communication. And I'm also a speaker, a corporate coach. I primarily have worked in automotive over the past 28 years, and I work with customer experience and help top tier automotive brands to elevate the customer experience. I'm an author of the book, one of the many authors of the book, Overcoming Mediocrity, Unstoppable Women, and I have a second book coming out on body image this fall. I have a degree in dance and psychology with a specialization in dance therapy, and I've been focusing on the psychology portion of that for the last several years. I'm on the board of directors of several nonprofit organizations, and I participate with several others. And these days, I am focusing my work on communication, building relationships, causing teams and teamwork, and elevating the customer experience. So for those of you who have heard of Bank, we are the world leader in personality coding technology. And today we'll be going through what those personalities look like. Our mission is to connect all of humanity and to empower humanity. So there are 4 different personalities in the Bank system, nothing new. Bank is personality-based. It's people-centered, profit-focused, and purpose-driven. And our purpose is really to make people matter. We at Bank have the power to transform not only your relationships, but your revenue as well by up to 300%. So with Bank, you have the opportunity to actually unlock the secret to ultra-high performance, not only in business, but in your personal relationships as well. How many of you would like to unlock your personal relationships and really be able to identify and see who you're speaking with? So there are 4 different personality types, and you'll see here we have B, A, N, and K. B is blueprint, A, action, N, nurturing, and K, knowledge. Let's suppose all of those are different languages. If I'm speaking English, we'll call that the B in blue. And I walk up to a group of people who are English speaking, and I start to speak in English, I probably have a pretty good opportunity to connect with all of them. Now, if I walk up to a mixed group of people and 2 different languages are spoken, and there are English-speaking people and German-speaking people, and I approach the group and speak in English only, I might not connect with everybody. However, if I say, Guten Tag, ich bin Vicki, I may be able to connect with those German personalities as well, or people as well. Now, let's suppose that there are some Japanese people in the group. They approach and they walk up and they start speaking in Japanese. If I don't speak Japanese, I'm not likely to be able to connect with them as well. However, if I say, Watashi wa Vicki desu, watashi no hoteru ga hoteru Century Hayato kara kimashita, I will likely be able to connect with them in a better fashion. In fact, I lived in Japan for a year, And what I found was if you really attempt to speak with someone in their language, you'll be able to connect with them. Even if you don't speak fully, they will also try to connect with you. And that's one of the things I really love about bank, is because when you're speaking with people, you're looking to identify what their values are. Because you may remember I said that this is a value-based system. So now there's somebody there who speaks Korean, and I say, kamsamnida, annyeonghaseyo. Guess what? I've just connected to the entire group. So I can elevate my ability to communicate with those people by 300%. And by utilizing the bank methodology, you can connect with your customers much easier, as well as your family and your relationships. Now, according to Salesforce.com, 67% of salespeople miss their quota. I don't know about you, but I never feel good when I miss my quota. Anyone here have that same experience? Yeah, it doesn't feel good. And 87% are not adequately prepared when they are presenting. And that leaves, unfortunately, many customers turned off. In fact, according to Salesforce, that number is 66%. Now, Robert Kiyosaki said, the ability to sell is the number one skill in business. And I don't care if you are in sales, or if you are the receptionist, or if you're the person answering the phone, or if you're the person who is cleaning someone's car in my field of automotive. You are selling, always selling. And so if we have the ability to sell, and we have the ability to sell ourselves, then we are actually going to find ourselves in business. Something happened here. There we go. So with bank, we will help you to unlock the secret. So here you'll see this little device here. Did any of you see the movie, The Da Vinci Code?
Yeah.
This is a cryptex. And in the cryptex, you have to use a specific code, because if you don't, inside the cryptex is a vial of vinegar, and it will erase the code if the wrong code is given. Now, most of us have a presentation that we use all the time with our customers, or something similar. I know when I go into a car dealership, whether I'm working for one manufacturer or the other, I have a specific method of working my way around a vehicle if I'm doing product training, or if I'm talking about how to elevate the customer experience. I tend to have some specific ways of doing things. Well, now that I'm working with bank, I've learned to actually have my presentation match the presentation or the language of my client. I'll explain more. So how many of you have heard that sales is a numbers game? Anyone? We've all heard that, right? Once or twice. How many of you have heard, I recently heard with working with some other real estate friends who they have the no game. Get as many no's as you can until you get a yes, right? Well, sales is not a numbers game. It's actually a people game. And it's how we connect with people that will make a difference in our sales. And I don't know about you, but I'd rather get more yeses than more no's. So this is Sherry Tree. She's the founder of Bank and Codebreaker Technologies, and she has been highlighted on Forbes magazine, Google, Entrepreneur. She's actually taught at Harvard, or spoke, not taught, I apologize, as well as in California at the California universities. She even went to the United Nations, and she shared what Bank is about. So Bank for her was a game changer. And why she created this methodology is because when she first started as an entrepreneur in the financial industry, she made $700 her first year. I don't know about you, but that doesn't sound great. But I will tell you that most multi-level marketing businesses, that's a pretty decent number and pretty close to accurate of what people make in that type of industry. Well, she went out and looked at every type of training she could get her hands on, leadership training, sales training, etc. And the following year, she did a little bit better. Within 5 years, she found herself making a little bit more money. She made $72,000. Her company was thrilled. Now, this is 22 years ago. So they were thrilled at that amount, but she wasn't satisfied. And so what she did was she took the personality assessments like DISC, and Myers-Briggs that she had taken, and she reverse engineered them. And she chose people's values to identify the different personality types. And when she brought this methodology to her teams, she actually began to earn more money. The first year that she brought it to her team, she made $500,000, and over the course of 3 years, over $1 million. Those odds seem pretty good. How many of you would like to increase your income by dramatic amounts, right? So 5x, 7x, right? Who wouldn't? Absolutely. So as I mentioned, she did work with the universities of California, San Francisco State University, did a white paper on bank, and I have access to that. And if any of you are interested in that, I'm happy to give that to you. And what they came down to was that bank actually predicts buying behavior. We all sell. You all sell. I sell. Even when I'm in a car dealership doing training, I'm selling the training to the different dealership or to the different manufacturer. And so how awesome if we can predict the buying behavior of our clientele and know going into a meeting what their likely behavior will be. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that. Bank is the only methodology in the world that is scientifically proven to predict buying behavior in less than 60 seconds. Now, Albert Einstein, he's pretty ingenious, and I love it. Right now, I shared with Peggy that I'm caregiving for my mom, and she recently broke her neck. Today we got good news. She can take the collar off. But her hair actually looks just like Albert Einstein right now because she hasn't been able to get it cut. So I love this photo. So Albert Einstein said, any fool can complicate things, but it takes a genius to simplify them. How many of you would like to simplify your work? I know I sure would. So while we know it's not rocket science, it's actually personality science. And we're going to take a look at the science of bank. So as I mentioned, there are 4 different personality types. They are blueprint, action, nurturing, and knowledge. We all have and share all of the values of each of these personality types. However, some of us value blueprint values more than we do action values, or maybe we value knowledge values more than we do nurturing values. So we'll take a look at that in just a moment. You know, the 4 personality types are not anything new. They've been around for 2,000 years. Back in the days of Hippocrates, when he identified that there were 4 different temperaments, and he could move that into his medical practice to identify basically how to treat people. There are millions of different people who've taken dozens of different personality tests. You may have heard of some of them. MBTI, Color Code, True Colors, and Berkman are of the many that are out there, as well as DISC. So what we found is that what bank offers differently than those personality types, because we are actually exactly the same, only different, is that we found the missing link. We found the science of buying behavior, and we call it biology. Why people buy in and why they don't. So to crack someone's code, it's great to identify what that code is and then determine your presentation by the way that your prospect is coded. And so to look at these different behaviors or personalities, as I said, blueprint, action, nurturing, and knowledge are the 4 different personalities. You want to be able to identify the code of your client so that you can speak to them in their language. So if you deliver the same script all the time, and this is the most common mistake out there, then you're only delivering to 1 in 4 of your clients that are put before you. If you deliver the wrong script, you're missing out 75% of the time. And there's a 3 in 4 chance that you'll do that. So the Shally Group did a study, and they told us that only 18% of buyers will actually buy from a salesperson who does not match their personality type versus the 82% that succeed when the personality types are aligned. let's take a look at the 4 different personality types. The first one is blueprint. So here you can see we use the color blue, and blueprints are typically inside the box. They're thinkers, they're strategizers. They like to plan. Sorry about that. They like to plan. They are very connected to stability and structure. They like systems and planning, and credentials and tradition and titles are important to them. So how many of you can think of a client that you've had where you had someone who was very strategically focused, someone who wanted to know your credentials? And if you didn't have the right credentials, if your agency or your office didn't have 5 years of success, that they didn't want to do business with you. Oftentimes in real estate, that's one of the things that are most important. Credentials are very important to a blueprint who is getting involved in real estate. They like a sense of duty, responsibility, and also predictability. So they like to know exactly how things will go. Very different from the action types. So, the blueprint, as I said, they tend to be cool. They tend to be a little bit standoffish. And they sometimes give you a feeling that they don't care. But when you get in action and an action's out there, they are thinking outside of the box. They like freedom. They like flexibility and spontaneity. They want to be the center of attention, and they want people to notice them. They like to be in the know, and they also like to move quickly. Once they want something and they see it, if they're walking into a property and they're like, this is it, you don't need to sell them anymore. Now they just want to know the bottom line, or they just want to know, what do we need to do next to make this happen? How many of you have had that client in your office before, or dealing business with them, right? And then we have the nurturing. Nurturing, we use the colors yellow and orange because nurturing tend to be loving, like the sun. They like things to be warm and fuzzy. Now, the action's thought outside of the box, but nurturing, they're actually going to recycle the box. And anyone who's very high in their nurturing values, they like community, they like they like harmony, they like peace, they like to make sure that it's a win-win situation. They love teamwork, and they really love to be able to participate with others. They want to make sure that they're getting the best possible price, but they don't want the other person to be sacrificing. So your nurturing tend to be loving. They talk a little more slowly most often. They're going to be the ones who hug you when you see them. Every time that you're doing business with them, they get out there and they are huggable. And then we have the knowledge types. Knowledge types, now, they tend to come off a little cooler. Notice we use the color green. These are your idea people. They love research and development. They love logistics, self-mastery, and they really get a big picture view. So think about the customer that comes in and they're looking at everything when they come in to speak with you. They're looking at the demographics, they're looking at the market and what's out there in the market in the area. They're looking at how competitive things are. And your knowledge types tend to be the ones who are creating the box. So these are the 4 different personality types. And here you can see these are some of the knowledge values. They value science. As I said, universal truths are important to them. Expertise, competence, accuracy. Those are all things that are very important to them. Your knowledge types, when they come to buy from you, they are likely to buy from you after they've had multiple visits with you. They're not the first one to buy from you. Where an action type, when they see it, they want it now. A blueprint type, they're a little more cautious. They're not as trusting. They want to make sure they're making the right decision, and they are going to maybe ask you for more information. They're going to really do their due diligence, but the knowledge types, they are really going to do the due diligence. So you can come prepared with all sorts of information on your comps when you come to a knowledge type, and have those available. Maybe not pull them out the first time, but have them available so that before you leave them, they have all the information they need, because they're always going to want to do research. Your nurturers, they're going to want to do a little bit more research as well. And sometimes they're a little less likely to make that quick decision. So this is a little bit more than I think you may have already known about Bank. And I would like to share with you the AI during the Q&A. And if you'd like to identify what your personality code is, I will put in the chat how you can find that out. You can go to my website, which is www.crackmycode.com/Vicki. And I will send you a report that tells you basically what triggers you to say yes and what tripwires you to say no. You'll see my code is NAKB. I put it in my name card there. And if you do crack your code, it takes 90 seconds to identify which values are most important to you. And basically, you'll see 4 cards. So we've got the blueprint, action, there's the action, nurturing, and knowledge. And you'll read through the values, put the cards in order of what makes the most sense for you. And then when you have them in order, that allows me to know a little bit more about you and how to communicate with you. So I want to thank you for your time. And if there are any questions, I'd be happy to show you through the AI and any of the other tools that we have available with Bank. But I'd love to get your questions answered first.
Well, we hope there's lots of questions, but I have a question.
Sure.
So, we talk to a lot of people and we talk to people about money. So most people don't like to talk about money at all. To get the right personality, is there something someone would say in each of these personalities that would basically crack the code, give you an idea of just an idea so that you know where to pull back? Because I know that I'm a red, I'm a bottom line person, and I have a tendency to go bottom line, and that leaves most people out of all the information they really need to make a decision. So,
yeah, really great question, Peggy. So Peggy's question actually gives me an opportunity to share a little bit more about what the Bank methodology provides inside of our training and inside of our coaching. So inside of the training, we do go over where you would start to identify somebody by some of their behaviors, not just the way they speak. So with the Bank methodology, you can listen to how someone is speaking and you'll start to hear different clues on what's most important to them. You can also ask your clients ahead of time before you meet with them if they would put the cards in order and let them know that you'll send them a report, but then you'll know what's most important to them. So if I'm speaking to a blueprint, I know that a blueprint tends to be a little more skeptical. So they're going to want the white paper, like the knowledge. The knowledge type definitely wants that white paper, but a blueprint is going to want the white paper. They're going to want a little bit more background information. They're cautious. They want to make sure that they're doing business with someone who knows their business. And so that's where credentials and titles can be very important to them. You'll know a blueprint by the way that they show up. They tend to show up 15 to 20 minutes early, sometimes 30 minutes early for an appointment. And they'll sit and they'll wait. And when you show up, then they're ready to go. Somebody who is blueprint, who is meeting another blueprint, it makes sense for you to meet them 15 or 20 minutes early. Bring all your materials with you so that you're ready to go and start the meeting early. Somebody who is in action, they're going to come 7 minutes late. They're going to high five you and say, hey, let's go. How's it going? Right? And they have what seems like no consideration for your time, but they're ready to go and they want to jump right in and zoom, here we go. Somebody who is a nurturing type, they may show up a little bit early, but they're going to come in and they're going to have a softer approach. They may bring you something. Oh, I just went to the store and I got some cookies here. Would you like one? Right? And you're like, okay, I thought we were doing business today. I wanted to bottom line it, but okay, we'll go into that first. So you'll start to be able to read different cues. You'll even notice how people dress and some of the ways that they dress. We have one module that talks all about people's environment. And so a blueprint, what do you think their environment looks like? If systems, structures, and processes and planning are important to them. I see, Arthur, you have a question, but do you also what anyone can answer this. What do you think their environment might look like?
Knowledge.
Someone who's blueprint. So if they're liking systems, structures, planning, and processes.
Oh, like Dan. Where's Dan? It looks like Dan's office, where he's got everything laid out, where you can see absolutely everything and everybody.
Right? Beautifully organized. Yeah, to a T, right? And they're likely to dress in a more conservative dress style. They are also, when I lived in Japan for a year. And when I lived in Japan, I loved it. Every day I was able to have, twice a week, I was able to have lunch in the restaurant. And I would go to this one restaurant and they would have everything laid out, my glass, my napkin, my fork and knife, my plate. And I would sit down and I would move things so I could read my book. And the waiter would come back and put everything right exactly back where it was. And then they would leave and I'd move things again so I could read my book, and they'd bring over my glass of water or whatever I was drinking and move everything appropriately. It was hilarious, actually, but very interesting, because as a society, the Japanese culture tends to be very blueprint. So I thought that was very interesting. Yeah. So what do you think an environment might look like for nurturing? Someone who has high nurturing values? Anyone?
They're really happy people. They want to help. They want to make sure you have everything, all your needs are met. That's all I can think off the top of my head.
Yeah. So they, as you said, their values are very focused on win-win, community, on harmony. They want everyone to feel good, and they like teamwork. So they may have a candy jar on their desk and they may offer you some candy. They probably have a cozier type atmosphere, maybe a pillow on their chair, something from home that shows you who their family is. So they want to be known and they want you to know them, right? And then somebody who is action. Their office could be a little confusing, right? Because an action tends to be very much into image, not always, but tends to be into image. And so it could be that they have the, coolest glasses that they're wearing, or the most advanced technologies with their phone, or the hottest new computer, or maybe they have a really nice diary on their desk. So you could confuse an action sometimes with blueprint, because they are similar in some vein there, but you'll start to recognize different attributes of the way that people carry themselves, the way that they dress. And action is more likely to have name brand clothing on, nice shoes, nice handbag. Doesn't mean that the other personality types won't as well, but someone who has very high action values will have some of that top of the line stuff. As you can see, I'm NAKB. So the assessment that I invited you to take with the crackmycode.com/Vicki is a 90-second assessment. We also have a more advanced assessment. And then the advanced assessment, you rank yourself by answering questions. And so I'm a 20, out of 25, I'm 23 nurturing, 22 action, 22 knowledge, and 19 blueprint. So my action is very close to my nurturing, but one of the things that's off on that is the image question. And I didn't think image was important to me. I drive a 22-year-old Volkswagen Beetle. It's a diesel, but I love my car. And I got it recently that, wait a minute, that is part of my image, right? So image is important. It's just that I don't have to be driving the Mercedes convertible, even though I would love one. And I work with brand new cars all the time, right? So it's interesting. You begin to start to identify and distinguish different attributes of your client, or even of, as I said before, in a relationship. I'd love to share a relationship piece that I do in our Bank for Relationships, if I may. How many of you think of yourself as being a little bit more blueprint? Anyone? So systems, structures, processes, planning, credentials, titles, tradition, okay? And action action. How many of you think of yourself as action? Freedom, flexibility, spontaneity, competitive, image is important, winning is important. Okay. So oftentimes these two that are very opposite attract one another, and the opposites attract, but over time, guess what happens? The opposites start to attack. That's right, Nika. They start to attack because what turned them on, like, oh gosh, I love you. You're free. You live your life very freely. You're flexible. You don't mind changing plans if I have a different idea than you. And then the action is very upset because they're like, well, wait a minute. I'm always doing everything to rebound for you, but you're not willing to flex for me, right? So the thing that attracted them initially begins to have them detract from one another. And so getting to know the different values and how to speak toward them can really help you in those relationships. Nurturing and knowledge also do the same thing. So people who are high in their nurturing values are often very attracted to a knowledge. Oh, you're so smart. I really love being with you because you know so many things, right? Oh, I really like you because you get along with everyone and you have a lot of people in your life and you like to do community work. But a knowledge type tends to be a little bit more on their own most of the time, right? Think of your computer programmers, right? And people who are really techie. And a nurturing type likes to be around people. So again, it's like, hey, let's go out and be with the group. I'm tired of being with the group. I just want to be with you. Right? So the same type of opposites attract and opposites attack.
Don't do this if you're already married.
Well, yeah, it's exactly right. And
you don't want to know.
Some people tell us that this has saved their marriage, and there have been some really amazing results that different coaches have seen. Now, I did see that someone had their hand up.
Arthur.
It was Arthur.
Yeah,
Arthur, did you have a question?
He did.
Oh, maybe Arthur stepped away for a minute.
No, difficult to get back to the screen. My question was, in the age of Zoom, we have the opportunity to see each other, but a lot of times that initial contact will happen over a call. Is there any specific question that you might ask to kind of help to give a clue as to what the person's personality type is?
You can, sure. Absolutely. So in your needs assessment, and I assert it's not terribly different than ours in automotive, right? You might ask, what's most important to you what's most important to you right now, right? And most likely if they're coming to you to make a vehicle purchase, to make a property purchase, they're going to tell you what's most important to them, and you'll be able to start to hear what values they're looking for. So someone who is action oriented may be most interested in the biggest ROI, right? Any one of them could be interested in the largest ROI, but an action is probably moving quickly. They want to make sure that they're going to get the best deal. They're movers and shakers, millionaire makers. They want to go out there. They want to make money. They want to make it fast, right? Your blueprints, they're going to be a little more skeptical. So they may want more information. So if you ask what's most important to you, they may say, I just want to make sure that I'm buying in the right area. I want to make sure that I've done all of the research that I need to make sure that, I know it's a gamble, but that I'm going to actually get the return on investment that I need in order to make this property worth my while. So that question can bring up a lot. The nurturing, someone who's high valuing the nurturing side of things, they may be looking to be a contributor to the community. This is so great that you asked that question, because I'm thinking of myself. 3 years ago, I moved to my community, and I'm in a community where there are a lot of mental health facilities. And I knew it was sort of an area that was sketchy for a long time. 20 years ago, I looked at a property in the same location, and I didn't move there because I didn't feel safe. Now I've moved there, and I want to contribute to the community, but I also want my property value to increase. So, there's this dichotomy of when are these facilities going to move to a new location and when aren't they? And, oh, great, there's, 3 new high rises going up in my area. I know that things are changing, but how quickly we don't know. So they may have those kind of concerns. And someone who's more knowledge focused, they're probably going to ask you for a lot of information about the area and to make sure that you know what you're doing as well. Credentials aren't as important to a knowledge as they are to a blueprint, someone who's high in blueprint. And I apologize, I don't like to say to a blueprint, right? We all share all of these values. We just are valuing some of these attributes more than others. But that's a great question, Arthur. Does that help a little? Maybe, maybe not.
Yes, it did. Thank you.
Okay, good. You're welcome. Yeah. And so that would be one question I would ask is what's most important to you right now? And then they'll tell you it may not even be anything to do with purchasing real estate or investing. Right?
Right. That's how you figure out how to work with someone is what is most important, especially when you're having first conversations. You're not going to be talking about business anyway. You're going to learn more about that person and their family, and you want to know how they have fun and what they do with their family, and if they have family, and which parts of that family they play with and which parts of that family they don't play with. You know, a lot of families are spread across the US, so they don't even see people. And they bring up subjects like that, and you really get to know where their heart is, so to speak.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Tim, did you have a question? You were just waving earlier.
There we go. No, I was just thinking, Vicki, I was just curious. Has there been any study on how much your personality changes as you get older?
So your personality, thank you. That's a great question, Tim. So I don't know that if there's been a study on that exact thing per se, but I will tell you the founders of Bank and the CEO they were both ANKB, so they were Action Nurturing Knowledge Blueprint. And recently they had a child, and he's now 2.5 years old. And Esther she recoded herself last December and found that she's now much higher nurturing than she ever was. And that's where about 3.5 years ago, when they were talking about having a child, because it took something for them to have a child, they started to think about people more. And so they started to really look at what does Bank offer. And so when Sherry Tree founded the company, she founded the company based on what she wanted, which was to sell, right? And she wanted to make money, and she wanted to know her customers, and she wanted to have them all buying out of her hands. And she loves to give back, but it was more about selling and really the competitiveness of it. And now that she's married and they're a lesbian couple, and they have a child that was Esther's egg, and Sherry had the baby, and they got a donor, and they chose from different personality types what they were looking for, which is really interesting. And they have a son who looks like them, and he's beautiful. And they have both really come up much higher in their nurturing. So yes, through your life, Tim, your values will shift and change for sure. My mom, when I first coded her, she was like, well, my code would have been different 20 years ago, but now I don't really care. I don't want to learn. I don't need to know all that stuff. So that's last for her. But when she was younger, she was hungry for knowledge. So
yeah. Well,
yeah.
My oldest daughter is 20. And so we've been having these conversations, and she has her opinion on things. And so I try to come from a perspective. I don't want to be, dad who doesn't know anything, but it's like, listen, you need to understand that as you get older and you go through life experiences, how you feel about this stuff is going to change, and so I was just curious about that.
Yeah, that's such a great question. And there was a family that there were 3 people in the family that were high action, both parents and one of the children, and the other child was blueprint. And they didn't know anything about the different personality types, but the blueprint, the one who was high valuing blueprint values, she felt like she didn't belong to this family and was questioning her purpose and why she was here, etc. And they had a friend who was a bank coach, and she coded the family and then shared with them how to better communicate with one another. And now when they take family vacations, all the actions, they like to just freewheel it. They're like, oh, we're going to Moab. Okay, great. We'll go hiking. We'll do this. We'll do that. Well, the blueprint was going nuts because she needed to know, when are we going? Where are we going? What are we going to be doing? So they've learned to have her plan the trip with some leeway so that they can still flex and have the freedom and spontaneity. But it saved her life, is what it did. She was, sorry,
yep.
She was having really difficulty fitting into her own family. So this does make a difference. It really does. And that's where we now have the mission of bank is now to make people matter.
It's great.
Carrie. Our customers are our family.
I was headed for another comment, which I'll make, but that was absolutely perfect because I know my daughter did not fit. I mean, I'm chaos and she's order, and I didn't understand that. I feel very sorry for her having been reared in my home. Anyway, I do want to give you a testimonial. I have several friends. They're in, insurance and sales, and they have, and I don't want to say use the bank training. They are being coached, which is actually to me the next level and really offers the efficacy to be much greater when you are being coached and you get to come back and say, well, this is what happened. What did I miss? Where should I have taken it? Or this is what happened. How do I repeat it? And I just wanted to give you kudos for the training, because I know that the coaching really makes a difference.
Thank you. Thank you. It really does. And we do have a coaching program. So thank you for bringing that up. We have a coaching program that brings you through the 6 intelligences of bank. It's a 12-week coaching program. If any of you are interested in knowing more about that, I'm happy to provide that information, and you can crack your code, and I'd be happy to get back with you. And I'm sure Peggy can put us in communication as well. The 12-week coaching program, if any of you decide to do this as a group, we can work something out where we could do it in a different manner. We could, I told Peggy I can make it happen in a different way. It doesn't have to be over the 12-week time frame, where it could look different. If I had a large enough group that it made it worthwhile for me to be able to break it down. But I'd be happy to look at that no matter what. But the 12-week coaching program brings you through the 6 intelligences of bank. You start with personality intelligence, and then go to sales intelligence, and then emotional intelligence, which we call the trifecta. And then we go to our artificial intelligence and to our business intelligence, and then to spiritual intelligence. I was going to say science, to spiritual intelligence. And so those are the 6 intelligences. And then we also have a 2-day summit, which brings you through the fundamentals of bank for sales. And then the second day would be the fundamentals of bank for relationships. And then we also have something called Kickstarter Pro. And Kickstarter Pro is a great way to start if you're not looking to take one of the courses. So the 2-day summit is basically $2,000. It's $19,999. The coaching program is a 12-week program, and that is also $19,999. No, sorry, $2,000. Basically $2,000, $1,999. And the bank Kickstarter Pro is basically the 2-day summit in a box. You also, Sherry Tree wrote a book called Why They Buy. You would get the digital version of her Why They Buy book. You would also have access to the Kickstarter Pro, which is the fundamentals of bank and bank for relationships, that you would self-guide, and you could do that. So those are some of the options that we have. With the purchase of any of those, I can offer you a $1 trial to our bank vault, which has over 50 hours of access to training in many different ways. And I don't know, Peggy, do we have time that I can show you a little bit with
Well,
the AI?
AI, we have about 5 minutes.
Okay, great. Let me go here to the AI.
So tell us what this is.
So somehow we are in my Zoom. There we are. So this is our artificial intelligence. This is where I can take an email or I can take a conversation. I'm going to take an email and I'm going to, thought I had one highlighted. Let's see. I'm going to take an email and put it into the artificial intelligence. And I was going to do one from someone I know. Here we go.
Can you all see this? I don't know if you can make it bigger or not.
Okay, let me, all right, can you see right now I'm in the artificial intelligence. I'm going to put code here. I'm going to put the conversation here. This was from my client and I'm decoding it. And what this does is it tells me how she's written her email. So her email is written in my code, which is NAKB. So high and nurturing, then action, knowledge, and then blueprint. What's really great about that is it has me hear her and hear her message. And so not only can I decode the message, but I can respond in code. And I can draft my response here so that it matches. So I would probably say, hi, Lene, great hearing from you. I really appreciate you taking time to clarify
Whatever.
the contract. I'm happy to get started with your team. And I'm looking forward to meeting you in person. Okay, so this is going to tell me how close I am to responding in her code. So this is telling me I did a great job. My prospect's code matches. So here the nurturing was high. My action was a little bit lower, but I was able to respond close enough to her because I'm talking about things that are action oriented, right? So that she would hear me. And then I can practice that. So if it's not a great job, it'll tell you, and then you'll work to get it back. The first two value cards are really important and sometimes can be really tightly focused. So nurturing and action for me are very tight. For some others, they can be as well. And so you'll get different behaviors based on different combinations thereof.
That's great.
And then, yeah, and then the third code is somebody's stress code. So it's great to know when someone is operating inside of stress. So if you were talking to me and I'm high nurturing and you're telling me about a property and I'm not comfortable with it yet, I'm going to want more information.
Hello.
And I know when I was a young girl, I would go through the mall and go to every single store before I made a purchase because I had to compare and get the best price. And I would waste a whole day doing that. But I wanted to make sure I got the best price. And that was me working inside of my knowledge code. So that's just one of the really amazing tools that are available inside of the back office. We also have a whole section, and I know I only have like 1 minute here, so I'm going to see if I can share this. Get there. So I'm going to go back here. And if I go back into our bank vault, notice everything is very oriented to banking. And I go into the bank vault. There are over 50 hours of different training modules that you can take. And if somebody, what's really great about this is if someone is just starting their business, you can come in here and you really have an opportunity to start your business with a bang, because we have a millionaire map which walks you through basically how to run your business and how to set it up. So these are some of the back office courses that are available: fundamentals for bank and bank for relationships, speed coding, where you start to identify things quickly in language and in the way people dress, the way their offices, etc. The ultimate success selling, the 4 R's for retention, recruiting, I can't think of them all at the moment, revenue, power scripting, sales velocity, coin. So looking at the coins in your life, the center of influence networking and networking mastery. And then this is the millionaire map, which brings you through an entire business plan. And then these are the 6 intelligences that I talked about. And then we also have a whole section geared toward real estate. So we have real estate strategies, and there are 4 different courses there inside of the real estate strategies. So there's really quite a bit of available inside of the Bank Vault. Any additional questions? Because I know we have just a few moments left.
Anybody have a last question before we stop recording? No? So I am going to thank you very much, Vicki, for presenting this educational. This is really amazing, very fun, very knowledgeable. And for those who really want to be more successful, they have challenges in deciphering personalities and how to have those conversations. It might be a good tool for you to look into. So thank you, Vicki, very much for coming on the show. We're thrilled to
You're
have
welcome.
You.
Thank you, Peggy. I did put my contact information in the chat, so I can be reached at bankonvicky@gmail.com, or you can go to crackmycode.com/Vicki, VICKI. And my phone number is there in the chat as well. I'm happy to help you with anything and answer any questions. And Peggy, I thank you so much for your time today and for your team's time. Thank you for being here with me. And I appreciate all of you.
You're welcome.